It's so ironic that our liturgy today talks about rivers and water, flowing water. The flowing water from the river gave joy to the city of God. The first reading talks about water flowing from the temple of the Lord, water that gave life, water that nourished the thirsty plains and giving new life and new hope to people near where the water flowed. It talked about the temple as the source of all this blessing, the temple of God that stands for God who cares for His people, a God of life, a God of prosperity, a God of blessings. Ironically, it is the waters that now threaten us, and I know you are just about as anxious as I am because of Typhoon Ulan. That's the Bisayan for Ulan. The coverage is almost as large as the whole country. And if the typhoon passes by Metro Manila, it reaches all the way up to Saigon in Ho Chi Minh City, the effects of it. This is scary, but at the same time, we are led to think about what the liturgy today talks about. It talks about we as the temple of God. We are God's building. And the temple that we should first refer to is ourselves. And then, of course, the material temple that is this church. This church that is some kind of, depending on the mother church that we celebrate today, that is the Basilica of St. John Lateran, San Juan de Letran. There is no San Juan de Letran, but the church of the Basilica of St. John Lateran was built in honor of St. John the Evangelist and St. John the Baptist. St. John Lateran still is the mother church of Christendom because it is the cathedral church of the Bishop of Rome, that is the Pope. And up until 1325 or something, actually the Pope resided beside the Lateran Basilica, not in St. Peter's. And St. John Lateran is one of the 4 cathedrals, basilicas in Rome, with Santa Maria Maggiore, St. Mary Major, St. Paul's outside the walls, St. Peter's on the Vatican Hill, and St. John Lateran. San Juan de Letran, ang ating inang simbahan. Subalit, paano ba natin, how do we celebrate a feast of a church that is so many thousands of kilometers away from us? It is not about the distance, it's about the meaning, it's about the import, it's about what the church stands for us, the Mother Church of Christendom. And that stands for unity. But more than unity, it stands for our faith. And why do we have temples? Why do we have churches? And all over the world, there are dedicated churches meant solely for the worship of God. Yesterday evening, I was saying Mass in a village, multi-purpose hall. Upon my suggestion, they change or improve the altar. But still, it's not a dedicated church. It is not for the sole use of worship. It is not exclusive for worship. Doon din sila nagpa-party, doon sila nagmi-meeting, doon nag-aaway ang Homeowners Association, doon sila nagsasayawan, doon sila nagkakainan. So the altar, which is wooden, cannot be dedicated because the altar to be dedicated has to be solid, has to be rock, has to be, hindi pwedeng gamitin ding kainan at paghahain ng spaghetti at ng pansit habhab. The church is where our faith is focused on and where we enrich our faith. So, this minor basilica that will be dedicated as such on December 8 is exclusive for worship. We don't use it for concerts. We don't use it for dancing halls. We were not supposed to make it into a ballroom like Trump did to the eastern part of the building of the White House. All of a sudden, he woke up one fine morning and decided America needed a ballroom. That this church is dedicated exclusively for the worship of God. Now, I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. The waters of the river give joy, gladden the city of God. Are we glad because of the waters that come down from the mountains of Cebu, where there are less than 2% left of forest cover? Bakit? In the name of development, they have transformed them into everything imaginable. Nung nawala si Gina Lopez, naging free for all, and courtesy of the past administration, corrupt ang DENR. Nobody talks about the DENR. Everybody talks about Diskaya and DPWH, but corruption, sin is where we are. Wherever we are, where there are human beings, it's in DENR, it's in Bureau of Customs, it's in the BIR, it's in the Tricycle Homeowners Association. Tricycle, whoever owns the tricycle and the Homeowners Association, corruption is where our human heart is. And that is precisely why we are gathering every Sunday, because we are sinners. And we need to effect our salvation with fear and trembling. And now that we are facing a very scary typhoon, then the unimaginable might happen. And you know very well that those who live near waterways na ginawang real estate ng mga developers, ginawang subdivision, natabunan ng mga ilat, ang mga ilog sa buong Metro Manila, sa buong Pilipinas, then we're paying for the effects of our sinfulness, our greed. Magbabayad tayo sa katakawan ng mga mandarambong na inyong ibinoto. Magbabayad tayo sa lahat ng mga problemang dulot ng dysfunctional political dynasties. Vamos, meron ba kayong nakitang political dynasty na binaha? Wala. Lahat sila nasa matataas na lugar. May nakita ba kayong political dynasty na ang kanilang salin ay sinabi ng totoo? Hindi. Nasa Switzerland, nasa Bahamas, nasa Liechtenstein. Nadala na nila sa abroad, kaya ang salin ng isa ay 18 million lang daw. Pero nakapagbibigay ng regalong $1 million na singsing. We are a sinful people, and we don't need to look up to Malacanang. And then the three big, or pretending to be big, religious groups who are more allied with somebody from the south are going to make a 3-day demonstration on November 15 to 18. Gagayahin nila yung February Revolution of 1986. Kunyari, accountability. No, they have a different agenda. That agenda is diabolical. That agenda has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with the common good. And therefore, we should not be fooled, because we as sinners can easily fall for the sin of greed. Yung ginagawang mga windmill sa Quezon, windmill daw in the name of development. No, they're looking for minerals. They're looking for places to mine. That's funded by a big country northwest of us na nagbayad sa naging fake Filipinos, 500,000 in the last decade. And so on. But now I'm talking about our temple. The temple that is dependent on the mother church, that is St. John Lateran. And now I'll talk about little details. Let's get down to brass tacks, as it were. Paano natin mapapahalagahan ang templo ng Diyos, ang tahanan ng Diyos, kung tayo una huli dumating? Nakukwentuhan pa habang ako'y nag-homily. Ikalawa, parang bagong gising. Nung araw, pagkasisimbahin, naka-Sunday best. Ngayon hindi, amoy kama, naka-tsinelas. Parang hindi pa naghihilamos. May dala pang aso. Ang nagsisimba ay mga hayop, hindi tao. May dalang aso, mas malaga pa ang aso kaysa sa mga bata. And this is true all over the country. I thank you because kakaunti dito. At yung nagdadala ng aso, nandun lang, tsaka nandun. Minsan may nakakapasok. but not during my 2 masses. Okay, because they know I cannot tolerate it. So, ano ang mahalaga na dapat nating baunin kung tayo may pagpapahalaga sa bahay at tahanan ng Diyos? Then we should behave accordingly and consider this that we do as laos ergon. That's the root word of liturgia. In Greek, laos means people, and ergon, the root word of energy, is work. Laos ergon combined, it became liturgia, is the work of the people, ang gawa ng bayan ng Diyos, ang banal na gawain. Ang liturhiya ay banal na gawain, kaya nagsimula ito hindi sa homily. Nagsimula ito sa entrance procession. Kinakatawan tayo ng lahat ng ministro na pumupunta at nagpo-procession patungos sa bundok ng Sion. The altar is supposed to be elevated. Kaya hindi ako agree doon sa mga simbahan parang sa bungan. Ang altar ay nasa baba. Hindi. Ang altar ay dapat ay bundok. Nasa taas. Bundok ng Sion. Let's go up to the mountain of the Lord. And the entrance procession is that sign that we are going up the mountain of the Lord. For what? An exclusive purpose of worshiping. Hindi para magmarites, hindi para magsayaw, hindi para magsayawan, hindi para magkantahan lamang, but to worship God in spirit and in truth. So, the dedication of the Lateran Basilica is not just a remembrance. It is a reminder for you and me to value that liturgia, yung banal na gawain ng bayan ng Diyos, na may pananampalataya na ang Diyos ay kapiling natin, at kung ang Diyos na bukal ng buhay at biyaya, yung sagisag ng tubig na dumadaloy magmula sa templo, ay hindi yung tubig na rumaragasa mula sa bundok sapagkat kinalbo ang bundok ng mga mandarambong at ng mga tampalasan. The flowing, life-giving waters that flow from the temple of the Lord, a signal of grace. And grace means we should be gracious to the earth too. We should be gracious to each other. Bakit? Pareho ang root word niyan, gratia. And gratia is something given gratis, something given freely, out of the goodwill of God, something we don't deserve, but something we receive should never be abused. The earth that we receive from God's compassion and justice and mercy and goodness is something that we need to treat graciously. At kung patuloy ninyong ihahalal ang mga magnanakaw, kasi nabigyan kayo ng 4,000 sa 5,000 bago mag-eleksyon, at binigyan ng supot ng Lucky Me at 5 kilong bigas, kasama kayo sa problema. Kung inyong ihahalal pa rin ang pinatanggal na ng ombudsman, ngunit naging honorable pa rin dahilan sa iyo ng madaling tandaang pangalan, bahagi tayo ng problema. Kung tayo bahagi ng problema, that's why we started the Mass with Confiteor Deo Omnipotenti. I confess to Almighty God. Why? Quia peccavi nimis opere cogitatione. Because we have sinned in word, in thought, and in deed. We are all sinners. So when you go home today after this Mass, go home with hope, but with faith and with courage. At ano yan, I don't know what one will bring us. I'm scared. I'm a crybaby. I've been crying these past days. I look like I'm a very serious person, but I'm very emotive. I cry over the more than 230 who have died in Cebu. At ang mga namatay hindi mga busabos. Yan yung mga bumili ng mga mamahaling bahay sa tabi ng ilog. Bakit? Sapagkat yung mga developers hindi sinunod na bayaran ng DNR na nagtayo ng mga bahay sa tabi mismo ng ilog. Mayroong mga batas yan na alam ng mga siyentipiko, ngunit binabaliwala natin sapagkat lahat ay nababayaran. Nababayaran ng City Hall, nababayaran ng DNR, nababayaran ng BIR, nababayaran ng Bureau of Customs. We are a sinful people and we need to help God help us. because redemption is God's work, but salvation is God's work and ours. And today, we find comfort in the thought that we have the opportunity to gather here in this dedicated church that will soon be a minor basilica, dedicated solely for the glory of God and the worship of Him, who is the author of grace and who loves us and cares for His people. But we need to help Him care for ourselves.